Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing a tag that's been out in the space for quite some time actually. I think Angelica Nyquist and Samantha March created this tag a while ago actually, and it's based on new releases. It's called New Makeup Releases the Tag, and this is about the 2023 obviously new makeup releases. So I will be doing that today in today's video. This look was actually created in a Q&A style get ready with me that I did today, and it will go up later this week, so you guys will be able to watch me like put together this makeup look. But today, if you're interested in the tag video for new makeup releases of 2023, that's what we'll be doing, so please keep on watching. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a field leader for Ulta Beauty. I get a lot of education in my position and really like to bring you that education here. But ultimately, I'm just out here talking about makeup because I like to talk about makeup. And if you're here, I'm assuming you also like to talk about makeup or listen to somebody blabber on about it. So I hope that you find that this channel is exactly what you're looking for and you'll want to subscribe before you go. With that said, let's jump in to this tag video because I want to talk about some makeup and kind of scooch you over because I will likely be putting pictures in over here so that you guys can see what I am talking about. This has 9 questions on it, and like I said, this is a tag that Angelica Nyquist and Samantha March started doing, I don't know, a few years ago at this point. Really based on the fact that they were both doing the Will I Buy It series, right? That Samantha March created. And they're really in tune to the makeup releases every single year because they do those videos every single month. I don't do those videos every single month, so this is going to be, I do them sporadically at best. I do think I maybe have 3 on my channel or 4. And I call them makeup release mayhem or whatever it is that I call them. I don't do them very often. So I'm not really in tune to the makeup releases that don't interest me, but there are some products in this amongst these categories that I remember a lot, whether they interest me or not, because they sparked some kind of conversation. So there are 9 questions in this tag. I will list the questions down in the description box, as well as make sure that Samantha and Angelica's video is down in my description box as well. I'll tag them in this so that they know that, like, I'm giving credit where credit is due. But I thought I would jump on this one this year, and it seems like it's a fun tag that maybe I would like to do every year. So I hope that you guys enjoy it too. So the first question is, what mainstream release lived up to the hype most this year? So speaking through mainstream releases of 2023, I really think that the ones that lived up to the hype for me were the Too Faced Italian Spritz palette. That one was really odd, right? Because number one, it was from Too Faced, and I heard all this like hubbub going on about the Italian Spritz palette and really didn't think anything of it. I actually got it in gratis, and it was a palette that I was going to give away. Too Faced is not a brand that is ever on my radar, not a brand that I ever like really fall for the hype of. And on a whim decided to pull it into my palette roulette and use it, and I loved it. And I was shocked by it, honestly. And it is a palette that typically sits right here next to my vanity table here. I just put all my stuff away, so it's not there right now, but I'm often finding myself pulling for that palette and opening it up for like 1 shade or 2 shades or, you know, something for the inner corner. I'm often finding myself pulling into that palette, and it is just the wildest thing to me because I don't love Too Faced as a brand. I don't really think that I ever have loved Too Faced as a brand, but that one I think is the one that comes to mind the most. The next one would probably be the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. Like, this reminds me of the thoughts and feelings that I had about the Natasha Denona Gold palette way back in the day, right? It was a brown and green palette. It didn't look very appealing to me. I just didn't think it was going to be amazing. The Yucca palette, I feel like I was a little more inclined to want, but I wanted it simply because I love Natasha Denona, not really for any other reason. But I purchased it, I put it into a palette roulette, I utilized it for weeks. I think it was 3 weeks, and I actually quite loved it. I don't remember finding myself getting bored from it, and if I remember correctly, yeah, I did put it into, so at the end of the year, I always rank every palette that I used, or whether it's a new palette on the market or no. I always rank the palettes that I use because I do the palette roulette series. The Natasha Denona Yucca palette did go into my green category, which means those are the top of the top for me. And I just really loved it. It was worth the hype, and it reminded me a lot, like I said at the beginning of this statement, of my thoughts and opinions of the Natasha Denona Gold palette, and then getting into my collection, utilizing it, and the feelings that were there after the fact were the same as what would be my feelings for Natasha Denona Gold. Really plain Jane, meh kind of mindset going into utilizing the palette, and coming out of it just enamored by it. What indie release lived up to the hype most this year? And I really feel like for me, the indie release that lived up to the hype was the Onsai collab with Makeup Just for Fun, Lauren May Beauty, and Batty Bean. Onsai Perfect World collab. Number one, those were 3 palettes that I purchased because the hype of the collab was real, like it was big, right? But also I purchased them because I hadn't tried Onsai yet, and I had heard really great things about Onsai. And then I got these palettes in and looked at them. They're so pretty and beautiful. And then I used them and I was floored by just the sheer beauty of the palettes, but also the beauty of the shades in each one of the palettes, how they performed on the eye, how the shimmers shone on the eye, like the impact of the overall formulation of Onsai, and the release that was just like this big thing from them that everybody was so excited about. It actually lived up to the hype that was given to it, for sure, in my humble opinion, and really helped me to like fall in love with Onsai as a brand and want more from them. And in turn, it led to me also purchasing the Halloween collab done with Angelica Nyquist and the brand, which is mentioned later in this tag. Which releases did not live up to the hype? And I know that I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this because it lived up to the hype for many people, but for me, it was the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. You guys, it's just, I just recently did a palette roulette on that palette, and it's truly not about the formulation. It's truly not about, for me, it's just not my journey. You know, I can sit here and I can, you know, explain it away all I want to, but ultimately it comes down to preference. And I think that the people that really are hyping it up and really love it are the ones that are really in a place where they prefer an almost invisible an almost invisible eye look, because that's what I feel like I got from that palette, no matter what I was trying to achieve with the color stories that I was putting together in every eye look that I got. Like pretty eye looks, but like nearly invisible eye looks. Like I don't feel like the pigmentation was lacking. I just feel like it really is a nude eyeshadow palette, and there was nothing about that palette and the hype that it was receiving that I felt at the end of the day after having that palette in my collection and utilizing it. Number 4 is, what was the biggest curveball this year? So for me, I think that there were a few curveballs in the beauty space as far as, releases of this year. We'll start with the most safe one, and that is the Cara Beauty Sewing Cookie Tin palette. Like, why? Why would that be a thing? Like, that I think in and of itself was a curveball, just because who would expect that would be a thing? I certainly didn't expect that would be a thing. Another product collaboration that was a curveball to me was Bobbi Brown and Powerpuff Girls. Like, I don't think if you asked 1,000 or even 10,000 creators here on the platform, or even 20,000 creators here on the platform, let's be honest, there's a ton of us out here, but I don't think if you asked any one of us what collaboration was coming in the future, anybody would have expected Bobbi Brown and Powerpuff Girls. It just doesn't seem like it should have ever happened. It doesn't seem like it was a good, like, mesh. Like, never once in a billion years would I expect that Powerpuff Girls would be part of, well, I don't know, maybe from Glamlight, but I never once would have expected such a luxury brand that Bobbi Brown is to be collaborated with Powerpuff Girls. And I know that there's a story behind it. I just can't remember the story behind it. And then, of course, like, one that's maybe not, exactly a beauty product, but it is the beauty space thing, is that whole Morphe bankruptcy situation that happened this year. Like, I don't think I ever saw that coming, to be honest. Morphe does quite well in the beauty space, I thought, but I do know that, there's a lot of people, I am one of them, that just don't purchase from Morphe, and a lot of it is because of history with, like, craziness going on and some of the people that they align themselves with. I know that a lot of people have canceled Morphe due to those things. I haven't necessarily canceled Morphe, but I just don't purchase from Morphe because it's just not a brand that I love. Not that it's a brand that I don't support. It's just a brand that I don't love. I don't think that anything that comes from Morphe is really good, to be honest, but I was actually pretty surprised about the bankruptcy situation because I actually thought they were doing quite well. And to find out that, they opened their stores one day and by the end of the day, every single one of their employees was separated from the company, and and that they were filing bankruptcy and all kinds of things were happening. Like, I think I was a little bit shocked by that. And I think that I'm not the only one in that bucket. The biggest curveball for me was, and I think I think Angelica said something about this, and I think Samantha said something about this too, but it is this lipstick right here that I'm going to try not to be super, like, flashy about. This is it Isamaya Beauty lipstick was a shocker to the whole space. I do believe nobody ever saw this XXX lipstick ever showing up in the space. It was crazy to me. And I think crazy to a lot of people. What is the biggest letdown or snooze fest of the year? When I think through the lens of the things that I saw come into the beauty space that I thought was a big old yawn and a big old, like, why? Kind of mentality behind it. I wouldn't say that I've tried them, so I don't know if it was a letdown because I wasn't excited about them, and I wasn't excited about them because of what I know to be in the past. But the ABH Modern Renaissance and Sultry, like, 9-pan palette, like, I don't really understand why ABH did that. It made no sense to me, and it was, in my humble opinion, a snooze fest, because who wants a smaller version of such iconic palettes that don't even include things like those, like, random standout shades in each one of those palettes? I think Modern Renaissance looks very much like Modern Renaissance the actual palette, but the like sultry palette is missing that bright pop of like peachy pink that it really makes it stand out from every other neutral eyeshadow palette on the planet. So I just don't know why we needed them in the space. So I think that that's why those were what came to mind for me as far as Snooze Fest. But there's a couple other things, like thinking towards the latter half of the year. We just saw a big, you know, collaboration between P. Louise and Michaela that was also a Snooze Fest. I mean, it is a quite large palette that has blues and browns in it. Like, I don't think that you need 50 pans of blues and browns. It just didn't make any sense to me. Nobody needs a palette that big full of two colors, really, blue and brown. The last one that I had on here is the Pat McGrath holiday collection. Listen, her holiday collections are pretty iconic for the most part. Like, I remember her big, you know, the first time she did the Celestial Divinity palette that's 18 pans and it was $78, which was crazy awesome. I purchased one palette from the Pat McGrath holiday collection that I haven't even used yet, but I think is really pretty, and you haven't even seen it because I haven't done my makeup rehab for this month yet, but that's it. That's all. The rest looks just like every other Pat McGrath Labs. I think that Pat McGrath, honestly, has been a snooze fest this year. We've heard it over and over again about how people are tired of her releasing the same thing over and over again with the pinks, all the pinks, all the pinks. And I think the same can be said about her holiday collection for the most part, except for the one palette that I picked up. So there's that. What was the year's unsung hero? And I feel like there's a couple again here. I feel like the Fenty foundation stick recently was a big thing. It's not something I've picked up yet, but it is something on my list as soon as I get, you know, through my year of empties and I wanted to get a couple more foundations out of my collection. I'm scared of foundation sticks, but every single person raves about this foundation stick, and every single person their skin looks so good in this foundation stick. And I've seen it on, you know, on YouTube with other creators that are wearing it. I've also seen it in person in my stores where my associates are wearing it, and it just looks beautiful. So I think that that is an unsung hero this year. I also think that the Danessa Myricks palette, the most recent one, I think it is, with the all neutral tones and you have a powder and a cream of each one, like that has been iconic in the makeup space for an everyday, all around, use everywhere kind of palette. And I think that that was also, yes, people are doing all neutral palettes. People are doing a all neutral creams. They're doing all neutral powders, but to have a cream and a powder of the same shade in the palette without making the palette as big as your head is iconic for this. And I do think it's been an unsung hero. I've heard many a creator that I watch say how this palette lives on their vanity because they can't get through a makeup look without using at least one of the shades from it. Everybody has talked about this palette with admiration and love. So I do think that that is also maybe an unsung hero. The other thing that I think came out this year that everybody is talking about and loves, and including myself, I haven't talked about them much, but I do love them, are the Give Beauty blushes, the duos. Even people that don't typically have much to say about blush are talking about these blushes. So I have two of them. They're in my Shop My Stash currently. The color stories of them, the differences of the colors in the palette, the fact that they don't have like an atrocious price point, but you are getting like two basically full-size blushes in this palette, and just like how beautiful they are on your skin for a powder product. Like, I think that they could also probably live in this unsung hero place. Everybody is talking about these blushes. Question number 7 is, what was the best makeup collab of the year? And I feel like for me, the best makeup collab of the year, just because of the sheer excitement that I felt when I found that it was coming out, and the intense want and need for the rest of the collaboration when I realized that it was dropped in 2 separate time frames, and All the Things was the Melt Nightmare Before Christmas collaboration, like, and then its extension of Christmas Town, right? I just feel like everything about that collaboration was so pretty, so well done, and I wanted every single piece of it. I ended up not getting every single piece of it, but have slowly dwindled in other pieces of it. Got one of the palettes as a gift, which was nice, from one of my lovely old peers and friends of mine out there in the space, and ended up just almost getting the full collab, and it is so, so pretty. What was the best holiday release of the year? And because I also love this as a collaboration, and it's sitting right in front of me, so I will show you. For me, holiday release is all the holidays of the year. I don't really think of holiday as like Christmas time, but there are multiple different holidays of the year that I love. Christmas is not one, if I'm honest with you, but my favorite holiday release of this year, even though it is also a collab and could also be like put into the last question, but it would be the Angelica Nyquist Onzai Halloween release, because this is, I mean, it's what is on my eyes today. It's Onzai, which I fell in love with this year. I think that it is smart for a release, but also the color stories are fantastic. So this one is the Little Ghost palette, and it is what is on my eyes today. I am using the blues and almost all of the purples. The only purple that I'm not using is this purple matte one here, but really pretty color stories, really beautiful eyeshadows, really blendable and pigmented. And the fact that they did 2 that aren't really super dark, but also do lean into, you know, the thought process behind the holiday of Halloween. One's Trick or Treat, one's Little Ghost. So I just think that this is the best holiday release of the year. I think a close runner up for me would be the Valentine's Day Glamlight X Chucky collab. That was a really, really beautiful Valentine's Day collaboration that was completely unexpected. I mean, who would have believed that anybody would put out a horror movie collab as a Valentine's Day palette? But I love that palette. The deep reds, the blacks, the grays, just the beauty of it in and of itself. Also really, really great. And the last question is, what are your predictions for releases next year? You know, I did watch Angelica's video, and I did watch Samantha's video, and I will make sure that those are both down in the description box as well. But I listened to their videos, and I've never, ever tried to predict makeup releases for next year. But I do think, you know, the Pantone color of the year just came out, and it is like, it's called Peach Fuzz, and it's like this really pretty pastel-y peach. And on it, it says, embrace the warmth. And it says, in seeking the hue that echoes our innate yearning for closeness and connection, we chose a color radiant with warmth and modern elegance, a shade that resonates with compassion, offers a tactile embrace, and effortlessly bridges the youthful with the timeless. I really do think that we're going to get back into, like, we've been in a space where like cool tones have been pretty much the go-to for quite some time now. Loud things like shock value kind of things have been in the moment. I really do think that we are going to see a resurgence of things like modern renaissance, but maybe from a muted place, like more of a, like when I think of self-care, I think of these things. When I think of softness, I think of that color. When I think of like love and harmony, like that's what I see, right? Coming from that color. And when I think of that in terms of makeup, let me just be honest with you. I have no flipping clue. I have no flipping clue. If I'm making predictions right now, it would be guesses out my butt. But we do see a lot of what came around comes back around, right? And I do think that we're in this place where people are looking for more subtle things, right? More maybe muted tones, more maybe neutral, more natural, more everyday kind of thought processes with that hint of warmth. So reds, peaches, pinks, just more warmth in what we're looking at. We've had quite the moment of all the things. And I think that we can see that in terms of like highlight. There's so many people on the space right now that I watch that I know had like blinding highlights back in the day that are now opting sometimes for no highlight. I was one of those people that was a blinding highlight kind of person, and like today it's more of a glow. It's more of a natural glow. And I know that we've kind of been living in this place where it is a little bit more about skin since COVID, but I think people are going to in turn make it about the colors that they're putting on their face, but still keep in mind that more natural, healthy looking mindset plus color. I'm probably completely wrong. I think that which one was it? It was maybe Angelica or Sam. I can't remember which one it was, but I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot more of the Isamaya, shock value situations, because that thing was dang expensive. I can't imagine very many people bought it, but I also know that the only people that you're going to get to buy that kind of stuff are the people that are in this beauty space on YouTube that see that kind of thing. There's not a whole lot of people that I speak to on an everyday basis that is even in the know of what Isamaya Beauty is, or that item in particular. To be honest, I also think people are getting really tired of the same old from mainstream makeup brands, that I think that we're going to see a big like indie makeup surge in a big way this year. That's what I think. Again, I could be not even knowing what I'm talking about. I definitely don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't know that I have a prediction for next year that makes any sense. I could just talk in circles for days. With that said, that is the last question on this 2023 new makeup releases the tag video that was created by Angelica Nyquist and Samantha March way back in the day. I'm jumping on the bandwagon this year. I hope that you guys enjoyed my answers. Let me know what your predictions are for next year. I would be interested to hear that for sure, but also any answers to any of the other questions. And if you do this video, be sure to let me know, because I'd love to come over and watch it. Yeah, guys, just let me know what you think. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and sound and healthy and getting along as best you can in this world and surviving the holiday season. It's almost over. A couple more weeks and we're out of it. Can you believe it? Couple more weeks and it'll be the new year. What? Holy cow. With that said, I also hope that you are all loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye friends.